Okay, I wasn't recording. So I've been playing around with Sway a bit on the Thinkpad. Um, I wanted to install River, which is another Wayland compositor, because they don't like to call them window managers for some reason, even though they mostly manage Windows. But River is more like DWM, which is why I was looking at it. It has tags rather than like the desktop things. But Sway works for now. And so one thing that I noticed with Sway, and I think Wayland in general, is when I touch a screen with my finger, the cursor disappears. So I can sit here and if I can still hit things, but if so, like in Cernal, which works perfectly in Sway under Wayland, um, you can see that it scrolls like it does in X. Um, the things that it's debatable between X and Wayland that I noticed is if I'm using a basic window manager under X, sometimes it's debatable whether some things will work. So, like the pen, for example, I was messing around under Awesome, and it was hit and miss whether it detected properly the eraser end of the pen or the pen end. And so far, this has basically worked perfectly under Sway. And I wanted to try it rather for WM because then it gives me that feel that I'm really looking for. And plus, another thing is when the cursor disappears when I'm using my finger, that's kind of nice because I don't need a cursor when I'm using the finger. For the pen, on the other hand, that's a whole different thing. I can just do the things that way. Stupid. Come on. But so I can still do the same things that I do otherwise. So, like I mentioned with River, I wanted to try that out because it's more like DWM, and I was also looking at setting it up on the Pine phone as well, so that I could use that instead of like Sway, which is what XMO uses by default. But I haven't been able to get it to compile because River uses a development build of WL roots, and even though I install like WL root skit from Chaotic AUR here on Artix, it doesn't quite want to work. Um, so even though the Git one provides a newer version than what is provided in development under the Gremlins or testing, depending on whether you're on Arch or Artix or whatever, it didn't want to compile. But Sway gives me an idea of how that'll work, which is kind of why I'm leaning now toward like using Sway or a Wayland compositor on the ThinkPad for most of my touch stuff, rather than a standard X window manager. So if I go discard, I can go, see, B menu works perfectly fine too. And let's go. I haven't configured all the keys that I normally would have under Sway because I'm like messing around with it mostly. FreeTube. But I do have FreeTube installed. So we can sit here and we can mess around and it disappears the cursor the whole way. So we can scroll through here. We can go, come on, StarCraft. That's a safer one. The only issue I've had a problem with is rotation. So I've been able to manually rotate the screen so that it like goes portrait or the other landscape and flips over. The only issue I've run into is the fact that, the calibration for the screen doesn't seem to want to work. But other than that, like, the screen works perfectly. I mean, I think there's a... I mean, there's only tearing, I think, when I go really fast, but it's pretty smooth still. So I mean, it works just fine. The cursor disappears, which is really nice. Under Wayland. So, I mean, I'm messing around. If you've got suggestions on ways that I can like actually get the calibration to work properly on the touchscreen, I'm still kind of looking around. I tried to install Rotate, but for some reason it doesn't like take whatever I give it, and I give it the output that it has there, and it just like airs out on me. So that's really weird. So anyway, yeah, that's me messing around with Sway so far. Like I said, I want to get River WM working so I can try it out, because I think that would be closer to the experience of DWM in Wayland than what they currently have. And River actually does more of a BSPWM type thing, so it's got the flexibility of BSPWM along with the tagging scheme of DWM, which is kind of the perfect mix that I'm looking for. So I'll kind of experiment around. I haven't been able to get anything to compile WL roots wise for testing on the PinePhone though, because it looks like they don't have testing and River's still in heavy development. But yeah, I'll probably mess around with Sway, or if I can get River working, I'll mess around with that. But yeah, if you've got any suggestions, you know where to find the links in the description and whatnot. Feed the algorithm, and if you found this informative on somehow, then yeah, that too, feed the algorithm. See you guys later.